Friend of the program, not only a man who has one of the most coveted jobs in the entire NFL, but also one of the most pressure-packed. He's the general manager for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ladies and gentlemen, the Kahn artist, Omar Kahn.
Yeah! What's up, guys? What's up, Pat? What's up, Diggs? AJ, how are you guys?
Hey, AJ's not here just yet, but we will tell him you said hello. He'll be pumped up about it. Yep. Pac-Man is here. Perfect. You told him to go fuck himself right there, but not a big deal. Not a big deal.
Was expected.
Are you staying at St. Vincent? You sleep up there? Dorm, cot, the whole thing?
Been here, yeah. I mean, I've been here for a month. So I did the math the other day. Listen, 21 years here at Latrobe in a dorm room. That's 21 months of my life, basically, I spent in a dorm room at St. Vincent College, and I have no degree progress to show for it.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. They should give you a damn doctorate with what you're doing, pal. I mean, you're making some real plays. You guys go on a run. Kenny Pickett becomes the next face of which seemingly all signs are pointing that way, and then all the boys get going. I mean, they're going to make you a doctor up there.
Oh, yeah.
You and Tomlin both are going to get doctorates, hopefully. But how has training camp been? I find it very impressive, and I want to let you know this. The team should know that you're sleeping there, too. I assume a lot of people in your position have a dorm room, but they're certainly driving home and coming back. So you, boots on the ground, sleeping in a college dorm. I assume peeing in a public and showering in a public as if you're an 18-year-old or whatever is very noble, and shout out to you for that.
Yeah.
Now, aside from that and showering with others and everything like that, how is training camp going for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Seemingly all signs positive out of camp. Is that accurate?
Awesome. It's been great up here. You know, we love coming up here every year, and so far the team's enjoyed it. We've made a lot of progress from day one to today, and it's great. You know, no complaints.
So, like, we were talking Tone and Nick. In Pittsburgh, it's like a thing. Every single kid in Pittsburgh makes the pilgrimage to St. Vincent to watch training camp. How has the reaction been? How have the fans been? How has the team been with the fans? Feels like everybody's invested, expecting a lot of success this year?
Yeah, I mean, we hold our, you guys have talked to Mike T. We hold ourselves to a high standard. We know what the prize is at the end. But the fans have been great, tremendous, like always. The crowds have been just awesome. Pat, I don't know if you used to come here as a kid, Pat.
Oh, yeah.
The crowds have been just like they were. You know, the pictures I've seen back in the day has been awesome. You know, they just can't say enough about the fans out here. I've met people from Hawaii, California, Ohio, obviously Pennsylvania, Texas, Florida. I'm trying to think, D.C. I mean, just people from everywhere.
Yeah, it's like we got to get to Mecca here. Let's go up to training camp. It's good for
Mexico. I forgot Mexico. Mexico, yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. International pull. Got to go across a border.
Yeah.
Go across a border, check in.
Yeah, couple flights probably.
Oh, my, geez. Making their way to see training camp. Yeah. Practice.
Not a game.
Talking about practice. People are going to do that for your team, and that's why there's always going to be a lot of pressure on anybody that's involved with the Pittsburgh Steelers organization. If you do recall, the story goes that Rooney was approached about the Pittsburgh Steelers being America's team, because the Pittsburgh Steelers, obviously the Steelers are the steel mills and everything like that, and as they grew throughout the country, a lot of Pittsburghers kind of got stationed around the country to keep doing their thing. So the Steelers have always been a nationwide, massive fan base thing. And Rooney said, we're not America's team. We're fucking Pittsburgh's team. Yeah. That's all we care about. Allegedly is the story. So the fans are always going to be strong, always going to be passionate. You've been in the middle of a couple things. Like last year, obviously, we got a new quarterback. Last year, we're having a little bit more of a basic offense. You're adding pieces, though. What is the big jump this year? Has Kenny Pickett, from all reports on the internet, he has taking a massive leap. The offense is taking a move. What have you seen as a guy that's piecing a team together to try to win a championship from this training camp that's maybe different than last year or years in the past?
I think it's just everything's been really encouraging. I'll mention just with Kenny. Kenny is no one outworks Kenny Pickett, and he has such a desire to be great. And you know that has an effect on everyone in the locker room, everyone in the building, really. And you know, we'll see. You know, we travel to Tampa tomorrow, and we'll see how what the progress is. But we feel really good about it, really encouraged.
What do you get out of those games, you personally? Are you scouting the other team while you're watching that game? What are you watching in these preseason games?
Well, obviously, especially with us, see how our team has progressed, especially those young guys. You know, we've been practicing against each other for the last 3 weeks, so it's going to be nice to see how we do against another helmet. But also, you know, we like to take a peek at the other team. You know, we have an idea of maybe who's going to come free from them. We all have to cut guys here in a couple weeks, and we'll be prepared. But mostly, it's just seeing how we've progressed from day one. We see it on the field, and we think we know, but it's good to see it against another helmet.
So when you talk about Kenny Pickett and how hard he works and everything like that, and I don't know if this is necessarily how every person that talks about football judges things, but when I see Kenny Pickett chugging beers with his offensive line at like a Luke Combs concert, that gets me fired up. Yep. Like that gets me like I'm pumped about that. Because I think there was a generation that happened of quarterbacks that either they were too standoffish or maybe too health conscious. You stop seeing like the interaction of like being a teammate, being a human. So whenever I see Kenny at these concerts, Kenny Chesney, Luke Combs, and his whole entire offensive line is there, and they're kind of, that means you guys got it behind the scenes. It feels like the chemistry of that team is really, do you feel that? Do you see that? And when you're picking a team, do you have to think about not fucking that up almost,
Yeah, and I've been kind of spoiled because since the day I got here in 01, we've had some unbelievable locker rooms. And, it's just a standard that's been set here. But this locker room here, I told the guys in our first meeting with the players that this is a really special locker room. I really feel good about it. And if we do what we got to do, I think special things are going to happen to it. But, yes, the camaraderie's there. And, it's been great. I mean, I'm sure you guys will talk to a bunch of the players here at some point, and you guys will get the same I'm sure you guys will get the same opinion.
Do you have to think about that, though, when you're piecing your team together? Like, do you?
Absolute 100%. They got to fit into, our building, our culture. And, it really, it's hard to explain in a few words, but we're trying to identify Steelers, right? I mean, you're from Pittsburgh. You guys are from Pittsburgh. You guys know, right? Like, you just know when you're around it, you know what a Pittsburgh Steeler is supposed to, how he's supposed to act, how he's supposed to play, his demeanor. You just know. I mean, I'd like to put it in words, but it's hard to do. You just know.
No, you did put it in words. You said we're trying to find Steelers. Like, I think everybody knows what that means whenever you say that. Yeah. And I appreciate the fact that you take that into account, too, as opposed to just like, this guy does run a little faster. He does. His upside potentially a little bit bigger. This guy, but everybody loves him. Yeah, it's like
tough.
It's like, well, we keep the dump truck, right? That everybody loves. Then I think is what we do. And then when Derrick Henry's on the goal line, we're gonna have him run into this thing with Spillane. Like I do appreciate that you guys actively think about that. Last question for me before Tone has a question for you, and I know he has a bunch. George Pickens seems to have an awesome attitude this year. We're flexing on people. Yeah. I like that. Okay. Now, I don't know how you all feel about it, but I absolutely love that. He seems to be making miraculous catches every single day. What is your conversations like with George Pickens? What are your expectations of him? And that guy's the next superstar in the league, isn't he? Doesn't it feel that way right now?
I'd say George keeps doing George things. I mean, they're pretty special and unique things. He's growing, he's progressing. We'll see where the jump is from year 1 to year 2. But I'll tell you, the guy that's had a real impact on him too is I think we added Allen Robinson this year. And Allen's the ultimate pro. And I think he's been great for George and Deontay, really all the guys in the receiver room.
Hey, veterans in a room are a big deal.
Yeah.
Big deal. Big deal. Guys like Allen and Pat Peterson, we had Cam Hayward, TJ Watt. We added Landon Roberts, Isaiah Suamalo. Like, those guys truly have an impact, especially on the young guys.
Well, and if you have a shitty vet in there, too, that affects it as well. That's like, that's a lot of influence up there. Like, hey, this guy's been in the league a long time. How'd he do it? Well, I'm going to do what he does. So if you get somebody that does stuff a little bit, it's like, that lingers. If you got the right people, though, it kind of has an osmosis effect on everybody. Tone has a question for you, Omar.
Yeah, Omar, speaking of picking Steelers, what's up, Omar? And finding guys who fit the Steelers culture and stuff like that, how do you feel? Because, you scout these guys, you interview these guys, you have an idea, you think you know these guys, and then you draft them and you get them in the building and you kind of get an idea of who they actually are. You're in there for a few weeks now. Broderick Jones, Joey Porter Jr., Darnell Washington, all the reports coming out are good. He's fighting for the #1 spot. Darnell, when the pads came on, just has showed out. Joey Porter Jr., we see him on all those highlights. How do you feel now about your draft class that you've had him in?
It's still early, but we feel really great. I mean, those guys are competing and battling, and our goal is to put the best 11 guys on offense, the best 11 guys on defense on the field. But every one of those guys is competing for an opportunity to play. So it's very encouraging, and very positive so far.
No air conditioning, huh, in that dorm?
It's a hot one today here. You're not. It is. Listen, I'm not throwing anybody on campus under the bus, but yeah, it's dorm air conditioners in here.
Dude, nobody's doing that anymore. Like, very limited teams are doing what you guys are still doing, and I think it's because the tradition's so big in all of Western Pennsylvania, and everybody kind of makes the trip. But, you know, like, I went up to Colts training camp last week or whatever, and last year we did that. We used to have to go stay in these dorms and, you know, this whole thing for like 3 weeks, whatever it was, 20-some days. These dudes are staying in this, like, 5-star hotel up there. Yeah. Everybody's got this all around. I'm like, damn, must be nice. And the Steelers are like, put us in the no air conditioning having dorm. We want to keep it in there. That does feel like a Steeler move, though. Speaking of a Steeler move, Mike Tomlin is just like the most synonymous person with a brand.
He's awesome.
He's become this guy that I think everybody looks up to. When he speaks on anything, we all stop and listen, because even though he might have his own way of saying things, the message is loud and clear. He still seemingly has the same exact juice that he had, 18 years ago? How many years has he been there now?
18?
I think he's going on year 8. It's 18 here. Yeah. 07 was his first year.
Yeah.
Same energy, same everything. New generation of humans. He's seemingly the same exact guy. What have you seen from Tomlin, and how do you feel like his coaching has been able to resonate with people that are now 50 years old versus people that are now 21 years old? If that makes sense.
Oh, he hasn't changed from day one. You know, he can relate with anyone. He does such a great job. The young guys, the older guys, he commands a lot of respect no matter what level you're at. It's awesome to be around. You see it every day. I mean, you see it every time we play pregame warm-ups, when you see guys from other teams, guys that he got to know during the recruiting process, coming up to him and saying hello. I mean, you got to know him too, right?
Yeah.
Pat, through the years, and he's just tremendous, you know.
I talked to him.
The guy that's just who he is.
I talked to him every single pregame, and it ended with the same thing. And it wasn't, I don't know if he's involved in this or not, but he said, I'm going to bring you home when you're old and cheap. That was literally what he said to me every single time we talked. Have a full conversation. How's the family? How you doing? Life's good. Well, you're having a good year. You're having a good year. Saw you did this. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Big dap up also. Bring you home when you're old and cheap was kind of like the side off. You know what I mean? Like, that was, yeah. Yeah, now, I'm a good negotiator, though. I think that I told him I'm never going to be cheap, and I'm going to retire before I get old. But, like, those types of convos, he didn't just talk to me, and he's the one who did my pro day at West Virginia. He's probably the reason why I even had the Colts watching me at that pro day and get drafted. That's like, it's a full meet and greet for Mike Tomlin around the entire NFL. He's become one of the voices, seemingly, of the entire NFL, and what a fucking good one you guys have, honestly.
He loves the process, too. Like, he's just a real guy. Like, he just loves it. I mean, he's genuine.
Yeah, they say he just goes into his cave, his film cave, and just doesn't come out or whatever. And then when he's out, he's got, like, 6 new metaphors. Yep. Whole new thing.
Walked in.
Fresh pair of Air Forces, just fucking shades on. I've been thinking about this, you know. Let's do the routine things routinely. And they're like, what the fuck does that mean? You know what it means. Like, it is just like, he's awesome, bro. They should be a documentary about him just as a human and everything. He, though, knows he's going to have to win another Super Bowl, right? In this, in this particular thing. And once that happens, then it'll all be something like, we're talking about Mount Rushmore, greatest coaches of all time. I think he's precipice of that. Excited to watch. Ty has a question for you, Omar.
Omar, everyone in the building and outside the building knows how important TJ Watt is, not just to the defense, but your entire team. But coming off an injury last year, how difficult is it managing a guy like that in the preseason and in training camp, where obviously everyone knows about TJ Watt? I assume he wants to be out there all the time, and he needs to get ready for the season. But then you look at, what like the 49ers do with Nick Bosa, where it's basically like, hey, this guy doesn't need to be out here. We don't need him to get hurt. We just want him ready to go, once the regular season starts. How difficult is it managing that when I assume he wants to be out there all the time, but it's also like, hey, we just need you rearing to go once the season starts?
Yeah, it's definitely difficult to manage just because a guy like TJ Watt, I think if you let TJ play every single snap, every single walkthrough, he would do it, right? That's just his nature. So it's on us to manage him. We have the data. We understand what the best avenue of practice is for him, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes he listens, sometimes he doesn't. But we understand he's a competitor, and he'd be out there every single play if you let him.
Connor.
Yeah, to that point, Omar, like, how do you view the preseason as a whole? Is it more so kind of looking at those guys who are on the cusp and trying to decide whether they fit with the team, like you mentioned, being a true Steeler when you know, you know. And then also we asked Brandon Beane about this as far as picking up other guys on other teams during the preseason or, you know, if they get waived. How often are you looking at those, you know, 40 to 60 players that probably aren't going to make a different team, but they might fit your, you know, squad and they're kind of better than your 53rd guy?
And also, how are you picking who's playing and who's not playing in these games? Sorry.
So, you know, coach will determine who ends up playing based on how he feels. You know, we play Friday night, probably all the way up to Friday. But to answer your last question, the end of your question, we evaluate every single day. We meet and we evaluate who's on everyone's roster. We study the waiver wire. Right now we have a list in place that we want to. We're sending we send scouts out to all the other games to evaluate the team. So we have an idea of who we would target, once a cut down happens, to see if they would improve our roster and all that. So that process goes on all daily.
You think these games are going to be more important, less important as the world moves on here in the NFL?
I mean, in my opinion, they're very important.
That's a big deal. You're a GM. That's a big deal, what you just said right there.
I think just for internally, just to see how guys progress. And like I mentioned earlier, see how they go up against another helmet. That's huge. Also, hopefully, I'm assuming every team's the same, but you don't always do the same stuff you did last year, you do this year. So this is an opportunity to implement some new things, to see how they're working. And so to me, the preseason is extremely important.
So you are a fan of the preseason games where obviously the trends seem to be, now this year, a lot of new offenses, new quarterbacks, new places. But the trend had been for like 5 years, like the preseason games are just kind of becoming like not.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the preseason. I think it's important.
Tone, go ahead.
Yeah, and to that point, it feels like some teams, and this is not, I can't remember the last time that you guys practiced against another team, is they go and they have the practice during the week with against another team, and then during the actual game, it's more of the 3s and 4s or whatever. Is there a reason why the Steelers don't practice against other teams as much as it feels like other teams do?
Yeah, you know what? I think it's just there's no real specific reason. I mean, we've done it recently with the Bills and the Lions. I think maybe like 5 or 7 years ago we did. But for us, it's just kind of worked out coming to camp, and we have a pretty good camp. We like the physicality of it, and if it happens, it happens. There's no real specific reason. It just hasn't worked out that way.
Listen, if we can agree on terms of what these practices are going to look like, we will certainly practice with another team.
Sure.
But also, we can't hold back because they want to hold back. We don't even think about that whenever we think about teams practicing. Like, that's probably a full conversation that takes place long before the practices are scheduled, right?
Absolutely. These conversations happen as soon as the preseason schedule is about to come out.
Did you guys have any? Have you had any?
We always entertain a couple of them. It just, logistically, several reasons don't work out. Who it is, maybe, it just doesn't work out.
All right, so we're thinking no pads for the whole week. We're thinking, yeah, that's funny. Tomlin going, nah.
Nope.
I don't think so.
Cancel.
Oh, we're hitting, right? We got 12 periods of, Yep. All right. That's awesome. Well, enjoy your camp. We appreciate you joining us. Find some air conditioning up there.
Thanks.
I mean, the amount of people.
I appreciate it. Hey, come visit us in Latrobe. This is your backyard. Come on. You got to make the pilgrimage up here.
Been there. Seen it. It is. I would love to get up there, though, just to kind of do that whole thing. I think I'm going back to Pittsburgh this weekend, but you guys play Friday, right?
We play Friday. We're off Saturday. We'll be back we have practice Sunday. Come visit.
What time?
1:55.
It's so late. I got a baby. There's a hole.
Listen, you can swing by that sandwich shop you like and bring us a couple sandwiches. One of your guys brought them up last year. They were delicious.
Rudy's, hell yeah. Caboli has some in his pockets every single day.
That's right.
Go ahead and grab those things.
I'm not sure I trust him in his pocket, though.
Well, that's because you guys are giving him a run around. We ladies and gentlemen, Omar Kahn. Thank you.